What's going on, 49er faithful, 49er fan, 49er gang? This is your boy Niner Gang Podcast back in the building with another video. So definitely hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, turn on the post notifications so I can keep you up to date on any and everything San Francisco 49ers. With that being said, man, let's get right on into it. I know it's been a minute. I know what's going on, Tony Montana. I know y'all ain't heard from me in a minute. Your boy's actually been under the weather. I usually don't get sick. It usually hits me like once, maybe twice a year, just because I'm always up on top of my vitamins and whatnot. What's going on, Throwback? So this was my time to get sick. So cough is eliminated. But right now, you know what I'm saying, just trying to get the sniffles to go away. So if I sound a little weird, that's just it. You know, a little nasal congestion, but it's all gravy. So this loss, man, it sucks. It really does suck, man. And we'll talk about it. We'll go over it, but I'll say this: for me, it hurt even more because of the way we lost. Like we just didn't have a quarterback. Period. So, we're not the Ravens, where we can just consistently run the ball and we have a quarterback who's ultra dynamic and able to do those things. So we can't just run the ball and win the game. And to be honest with you, man, when you can't throw the ball, you're going to lose. There is no way for you to just pound that rock without the threat of throwing and then wind up having that being a situation. Good morning, Raphael. But it just, I don't know, man. It's making me impatient, and I'm starting to get frustrated. And, you can blame a lot of things, but nobody can win a game without a quarterback, especially without one that can't throw. So, it just – there's several things that I'm going to talk about today and, several little things that I can throw out, and I'll see what you say in the comments. But for me personally, it's a frustrating situation. So the first thing I'll start off with is being unprepared. So you go into the NFC Championship game. We have no Jimmy. We have no Trey. And all you're going into the NFC Championship game with is two quarterbacks. One being the incumbent starter at that time in Brock Purdy, and the other being Josh Johnson. Now, can you anticipate the injuries happening to both of them? No, you can't. Injuries happen, and they happen when they happen, and there's no way of knowing it's going to happen unless you see a certain pattern with a certain player and you tell that guy, hey, avoid this dude because he does this. And most of the people that he does that to winds up being injured. But it's extremely rare that you're going to find that. The other thing is it's when you look at what happened. So Brock Purdy gets, his UCL torn on basically a tomahawk chop, from Hassan Reddick. A lot of people will say, hey, it's not supposed to be Hassan Reddick over there blocking, Tyler Kroft blocking Hassan Reddick, blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. I don't really think it's about who was blocking Hassan Reddick. I feel like it's the fact that they got beat and he got to the quarterback and shit happened. Like, I know usually I'm definitely one that's big on conspiracy theories and stuff like that. What's going on, Ty? Stuff like that. But I'm just being honest, man. Like, anybody can be beat. George Kittle is a fantastic blocker, but, people have gotten past him before. It's not outside the realm of possibility. So I don't blame Tyler Kroft for the injury to Brock Purdy. It's just, shit happens. Everyone knows as a quarterback, those tomahawk chops are coming. They typically will do that just to try to get you right here, right in the middle of your arm, you know what I'm saying? So you can't throw. What was worse about it was he hit him before he actually started the actual throwing motion of going forward, so that became a fumble, and the Eagles recovered. Did suck because we didn't get a chance to see the proper replay for the Devontae Smith catch. Would have taken a little bit of momentum. But here's the thing. I'll say this. We lost Brock Purdy with a torn UCL. He's still right now currently getting different opinions because he's trying to avoid surgery, which I understand why people try to avoid surgery because it makes it a longer timetable for recovery when you actually are doing something. But from what I hear, he had a complete tear, which is what surgeons love because they can just go in there and fully repair it and they figure out a way to be able to do it. Now he's going to try to get, basically what, he's going to try to get the best opinion and make the best decision for himself and for his future. I've heard a little bit of Tommy John surgery being thrown around. That is a full-on year of recovery. You do not come back in 6 months from that. It's extremely rare. 49ers for life. What's going on? First time I've seen you in the stream. Definitely hit the like and subscribe button. Appreciate you stopping by. Yeah, taking crap at work from Cowboys fans and Saints haters. But, the funny thing is when teams that you've eliminated talk shit because now you're eliminating, you're on the couch the same way, it makes you look at them and wonder what goes through your brain in the middle of the night where you feel like you could talk crap to me when I sent your ass home first. So, haters gonna hate. I don't pay too much attention to that. But in this game, it shows you truthfully that you have to have a pass game and you've got to have a run game to be able to win games. Because when you become one dimensional, it makes life too easy for the defense. At that point, when we lost Josh Johnson to a concussion, they knew Brock Purdy couldn't throw. And they knew we weren't going to give them the opportunity to get anywhere near him and hit him again. So we ran the ball. But they knew we were running the ball because that was our only option. We didn't run any wildcat. We didn't do anything until like late in the game, which didn't make sense. So let's talk about it. Kyle. I don't know, man. I'm getting impatient. And I'm low-key starting to feel like a Cowboy fan. And I'll tell you why. The reason being is the only difference between us and Cowboys fans is that, we have high hopes and they're realistic. They have high hopes and they're unrealistic. See, for the last couple of years, with Shanahan being here, I've always felt like we had a shot to go to the Super Bowl and win. I don't feel that way no more. I just don't. I'm sorry. You got to be prepared for situations like this. And I'm sorry, Josh Johnson was not the guy you should have been picked up to be a backup. I'm pretty sure there were other vets out there that would have done a better job on the fly, and, we would have been all right. I know a lot of people are saying, I felt comfortable with Josh being in there, blah, blah, blah. I didn't. Josh Johnson has been on, I think, damn near every team in the league. And I know I'm exaggerating, but this is just how I feel. He's been on almost every team in the league. It ain't panned out in one of them. So what makes you think he going to pan out over here? And knowing we're going into the NFC Championship game, you don't come prepared with at least a third string guy? You could dress 12 running backs, but you can't dress 3 quarterbacks? Like, it makes me question what he's doing. And I know a lot of people, they're like, nah, man, don't question Kyle. He's gotten us here. He's gotten us there. Here's the problem. I don't care what Kyle has done. If you ain't putting another Lombardi in the trophy case, all that shit don't mean nothing. I'll say this. It's very good. It's nice to stay competitive. It's nice to always be in the hunt. Good morning, Mom. Year in and year out. But I don't want to just be in the hunt. I want to be that team that people fear because they know we can go out there and win championships. But we can't be that if every year we just continue to fall short. Kyle had been to 3 NFC championship games. Won 1, lost 2. He done been to a Super Bowl, lost that one. He's been to a Super Bowl with the Falcons as an offensive coordinator. Didn't pan out. Bill Belichick made adjustments in the second half and closed that window real quick. So it's really driving me insane that the guy just can't get over the hump. And, I'm starting to liken Kyle to Mark Jackson. And if y'all don't know who Mark Jackson is, I'm switching the sport to basketball because he was the head coach of the Warriors. I know a lot of 49ers fans are Warrior fans because they're from the Bay. I am not from the Bay. I'm from L.A. So, my allegiance is live with the Chicago Bulls. I'm not a Laker fan, never have been, never will be. I watched the Bulls when I was a kid, loved Jordan. But the big issue is he's got all the pieces to the puzzle. He just can never get over the hump. Never. He did it. It was a magical season for us because we started out real shitty. I believe we were 3-5 at one point. Then Jimmy starts to look like a real quarterback. Things start to work out. The first game of the season was a damn monsoon. Second game of the season, we lose Trey Lance. But those first two games, that first couple of games, we saw what the offense would look like with Lance in there. And to me, I felt like Kyle was running Trey into the ground, giving him too many read option plays and, just treating him more like a running back instead of a quarterback. And my thing is let the guy throw, and I saw a disparaging difference in the fact that Jimmy Garoppolo came in and immediately we threw the ball. When Brock Purdy came in, we kept throwing the ball. But when Trey Lance was in, magically we need to run more? I don't understand it. And a lot of people will say, oh, well, Trey makes the run game more dynamic. He does, but he's still our quarterback. And he still has to be a quarterback. He has to stand in the pocket and throw. He has to roll out and bootleg. He has to do all the things that a normal quarterback has to do. So why limit him to throwing the ball? But Jimmy Garoppolo and Brock Purdy come in and we throwing the ball every goddamn where. So for me, like I said, injuries happen. I know he was very pissed when asked that question in the presser. He came with a very snarky response. And the only thing I think you could possibly even try to blame Kyle for is the Trey Lance injury because he was running him into the ground. So many plays where you didn't see him drop back and throw. You saw him, drop back and he was running or design runs for him. Like all these things came into play. And the thing is, as a quarterback, when you're running, you probably want to be Jalen Hurts. And the reason being, he's very smart when he runs. He does not take hits. He gets down, he gets out of bounds, he does whatever he needs to do to avoid being touched. So Jalen Hurts, I could say, is probably one of the best blueprints for running in the NFL. I would say Lamar Jackson, but every now and then, he takes a couple hits. And plus, he just has the speed, and I'm trying to figure out, where we go from here. Because I'm sorry, I don't want to just remain competitive. I don't care about being competitive. It's not good enough for me to be in an NFC championship game every year. I don't care about that. I need a Super Bowl. We need a win in the fucking Super Bowl. And nothing seems to fall our way. And to be honest with you, ever since Kyle's been here, man, the injuries have been just destroying us. And I know that he took offense to that, but what kills me is how do you explain it? Since he's been here, the quarterbacks get injured. Hell, the COVID year, we had the most money on IR, of any team. You know what I'm saying? Every year something happens. He did explain why Drake Jackson hadn't been playing. And so he basically said that Drake Jackson, his body wasn't holding up the way that he wanted it to. That he wasn't able, I guess, to sustain, the level of production that Kyle would have liked to have seen, on a consistent basis. So if you know that that's the case, you let the guy develop, but in the process of developing, you don't take him out. I mean, the man barely played, and he led the league and batted down passes from defensive linemen. And he's playing defensive end. And you drafted this kid, obviously to be the person, opposite Nick Bosa. So why not let him get out there? In this game versus Jalen Hurts, you need speed guys coming off the edge to be able to get to him. Drake Jackson is very fast. I think he would have been able to keep up with Jalen Hurts. You got to put a spy on him. All those things. So offensively, once the quarterbacks go down, we have no output in the NFC Championship game, and the stats start to look like shit. When you look at it, Josh Johnson, 7 of 13 for 74 yards. He got sacked twice. One of those sacks, he got a concussion. Brock Purdy, 4 for 23 yards. Now, that's nice, but as a team, 11 of 18 for 83 motherfucking yards throwing. That's horrendous. You're never going to win a game like that. And once again, I'm not blaming Kyle for what happened in the NFC Championship game. I'm not blaming him. That's not his fault. You can't do nothing if you ain't got no goddamn quarterback. The only thing I could say about that is Kyle should have been prepared, and he should have dressed a third quarterback, and that third quarterback should have been someone who was a veteran in the league, someone who wasn't ready to retire, and it's like, okay, you know what? I'm going to come in, and I know you haven't been here for a while, but hey, we're going to give you the basic of the basic. This is going to be as vanilla as it gets. It's going to be like, schoolyard football. I'm going to put my hand up like this, and I'm going to tell you, hey, you do this, you do that, you run this, you run. Like, that's literally as basic as it gets. But he didn't do that. And he thought that if Brock Purdy went down, Josh Johnson was going to lead this team. A guy who's been on every team under the sun and ain't never panned out. Sorry. That wasn't going to cut it, Kyle, and you knew that. So I could say he was unprepared and not having the right backup. You know what I mean? Because to be honest with you, when teams see that you've bounced around the league on a consistent basis, what they say about you is the guy can get a job because everybody seems to like him, but there ain't nothing to fear about him. Nothing to be scared of. It's just Josh Johnson. Who gives a fuck? So then when you look at the run game, we had 24 carries for 81 yards. Christian McCaffrey was averaging 5.6 yards per carry. He had 15 for 84. His longest run was 23 yards. He had a TD. No one else really had any rushing yards, to be honest with you, when you look at it. As a team, we had 84 yards because Deebo Samuel had 6 carries for -9 yards. And why? Because they knew what we were going to do when he lined up in the backfield. It makes no sense to line up Deebo in the backfield and actually give him the ball because everyone knows that's what's going to happen. So these DBs probably don't even block the receivers. They don't pay any attention to the tight ends. They look and they go, he handed the ball to Deebo. We just going to act like we're blocking you for about a second or so, and we're swarming to that pile. And we're going to see if we can get that ball out. If something is so obvious, then why continue to do it? It doesn't make sense. So for me, I just get frustrated with sometimes the preparedness. You've got to be smarter than that. You've got to be stronger than that. Hell, from what I hear, his dad still watches film. His dad still helps him out. He speaks to his father about everything. But it just, to me, he's not making the proper adjustments. And that's what that's what Throwback is saying right here. What's going on, Roy Boy? So Throwback is saying right here, Kyle hasn't adjusted, Anyway, Kyle's offense had, it kills me because the loss makes it look like we got destroyed. And we didn't. Not necessarily. When you look at the Eagles' numbers, they're world beaters numbers. Let's look at that. Jalen Hurts, 15 to 25 for 121 yards. Took a sack. He had no touchdowns. When the last time you seen a stat line like that from Jalen Hurts? You haven't. It's been a while. The defense had him figured out. If even in a game where you don't have a quarterback, you still held that man to 15 to 21 for 121 yards, you did your motherfucking job. You know what I'm saying? Um, their run game, it was by committee, and yeah, it was going to wear us down eventually. But once again, not one individual made it over 100 yards. Not one individual even made it over 50 yards. But Miles Sanders and Kendrick Gainwell and Jalen Hurts, along with Boston Scott, they all combined for a total of 148 yards and 4 touchdowns. So their run game killed us. And the reason that you don't see a ton of yards from those guys is because they were playing on short field. It was very, very simple. So for me, man, I'm gonna stay faithful. I'm not giving up on the team. I'm just lowering my expectations. What's going on, Andy? Yeah, it definitely was. A big chunk of that was that gimme from the missed catch. So the defense is fine. The issue is we don't have a defensive coordinator anymore because he's now the head coach of the Houston Texans. Shout out to Miko Ryans for getting that job. I'm glad that he wanted the job. I hope they treat him well over there, and I hope they don't expect him to turn that program around in 1 year. He is looking to get some OCs every year. The one thing I can say about Kyle is every single year his coaching staff gets poached, and it's because obviously he's turning out fantastic talent. What's going on, John? It bothers me. It bothers me a lot when I go out there and I see us just, we look great and we're rolling and something comes in and just upends all of it. So I'll say this. I would have loved for Vic Fangio to come here because I would have loved for us to go back to a 3-4. That would have been flat out amazing. We already got 3 out of the 4 linebackers in Azeez, Fred, and Dre. We just got to figure a way to do that. And you just got to find a 4th linebacker. You could have put Drake Jackson and Nick Bosa on the edges. We just need a real hog in the middle. Because for a 3-4 to work, you have to have a really nasty nose tackle. Like you got to have a guy that gets gritty and dirty and does things the right way. You got to have almost like a Vita Vea in its prime. You know what I'm saying? A Casey Hayward, type guy to be able to run a proper 3-4 because that nose tackle has to create pressure that literally sucks up almost the center and the guard. Pause. But for me, man, it's just pure frustration. Really is pure frustration. A lot of anger. Because I'm tired of watching us get so close every year and fail. And that's the biggest thing. Yes, and there are some players that are going to be leaving. And I'll do a different show on free agency and, the NFL and what's going on with, all the free agent positions. But we've got a ton of free agents this year. A ton of guys that'll be leaving. Some guys that were on 1-year contracts. Few guys that are leaving, but you usually expect them back because they usually do come back. Some guys that are in a tight position because they can't really go anywhere else because they don't have enough tenure in the NFL, variety of things. But, yeah. Kinlaw, yeah, disappointed. Just disappointed. And I'm sorry. I wouldn't want to pick up a 5th-year option on the kid. He's just not worth it. He wasn't worth it when we drafted him. And it's nothing against him personally. I don't know him to have any problems with him personally. And I know he doesn't like people talking bad about him, but I'm sorry. You haven't put a product on the field that's good enough for us to really talk about in a glowing way about you. So that's not our fault. That's on you. Get your body right, get your mind right, get out there and start making plays, and people have less things to say about you that are negative. You can't sit up there and continue to support someone who hasn't showed up. And I'm sorry, Kinlaw ain't showed up, period. He has not shown up so much. Our picks usually in the 1st and 3rd rounds don't always pan out the best. Definitely 1st and 2nd. Aaron Banks looked really good this year. Jake Brendel did all right. He's a free agent, though. We only had him on a 1-year deal. So it's just it gets frustrating when you watch your team and you see that everything you need is there, but you just can't finish. And this is happening year in and year out for us, man. We always go into the season. We're always competitive. And it's always, I think the only season that we actually started with Kyle, where we actually were winning and kept that rolling, was in 2019. Because every other season we started hella slow, really slow. We never came out firing on all cylinders and winning the games that we should have won and losing the games that we probably should have lost. It was always the opposite. Really bad starts, very good finishes, but at the end of the day, still no Lombardi. And I know Kyle ain't going nowhere. He's not. That's just how it works. You know what I'm saying? They gave that man another 6-year extension, so he'll be here for a while. My main issue is, if he's going to be here, is he going to do anything different? Is he going to change anything? Are we going to get better? But shout out to the defense. I'm so sorry that all of your efforts still didn't help. You know, defense did fantastic. You know, like I said, think about it like this, man. Look at this. You've got 148 yards rushing and 121 yards passing. So what is that? That's 269 yards total for the game. 269? As the Eagles offense? That's insanity. So what does that tell you? They're playing on a short field. It's always what's happening. You know what I'm saying? They beat us 31-7. They scored in every quarter. We scored in the second quarter. That was it. They scored 14 in the first, and we scored 1 in the second. After that, we didn't score again. And it hurts because it hurts more for guys like Christian McCaffrey. This is his first NFC Championship game he's ever been in the fucking league. Hell, this is one of the first winning teams I've ever even seen him on, because he's been with the Panthers, and the Panthers have been losing since he's been there, really. And I'm not saying like that's Christian McCaffrey's fault. It's just the team he was with just wasn't producing. So when he came over after the Kansas City game, we ripped off 12 straight. And, you know, him and Brock Purdy were definitely a part of the reason why. You know, I see he wound up going to the Pro Bowl because I believe it was either Miles Sanders or Kenneth Gainwell, one of them two. They couldn't go, obviously, because they're going to the Super Bowl. So there's a variety of things that happen. And, you know, I don't know, man. I'm very frustrated because I feel like our defense was wasted. We didn't have an offense to provide the points, because what people don't realize is your defense is not there to score. Your defense is there to stop the other team from scoring. They're there to force a fumble, get an interception, you know, things like that. They're not there to actually score. And if they do, that's just a bonus. So when it comes down to the situation of us playing and winning, we need to make it happen. And we need to figure out a way to make it happen on a consistent basis. We need to figure out how to keep guys healthy, and we need to be able to finish. Consistently being competitive means nothing if at the end of the year there's no Lombardi in your trophy case. Every team will tell you that. Because you know what? Every year the Bills are competitive. They are. You know they're going to be in the race to be able to possibly win the AFC. But you know what? Nothing happens. Since Josh Allen's been there, they've been in position a couple of times. Nothing's materialized. So you can't tell me the Bills fans probably aren't sitting there going, damn, man, when are we going to get over this fucking hump? And that's why I say to feel like Kyle is Mark Jackson. You know what I'm saying? He's got all the pieces to the puzzle. He just can't get over the hump. So what happens? They get rid of Mark Jackson, bring in Steve Kerr. Magically, championships start coming around. Why? I don't know. Something different that Steve did. Something different about him. We're not going to do that because we're going to stick with Kyle. Kyle's going to remain here for the next couple of years. We just have to deal with that. It's understandable. And once again, I'm not saying fire Kyle. I never stated that. I'm just saying I'm frustrated with his ways because there's too many times where you don't see him make the proper adjustments for us to win a game. There's too many times where you see him unprepared for situations that he should have been prepared for. If you know you're going in and your second string quarterback bounced around the whole fucking league and has never amounted to anything, why would that be your second string quarterback going into an NFC championship game? Once again, you just bring in a regular dude that's a vet who knows and understands systems, who has some type of knowledge of your system. You oversimplify the shit, and you do exactly what you did for Jimmy in 2017. You dumb it down. Just tell this motherfucker, look, man, go out there and play backyard football. Just don't get killed. Those are the things that you have. We don't have an offensive coordinator because Kyle calls all the plays. I know when Mike McDaniel was here, everybody thought that McDaniels was calling the plays. I believe he had input, but I don't think he was calling shit. I think he just had that title and wound up getting the head coaching job based off the fact that he gave it to him. But his preparedness just doesn't work for me. I like a guy who knows, hey, this is possibly going to happen. Let me do this. And then going up against a pass rush like this, you have to have the protections ready. If Tyler Kroft knew that Hassan Reddick got past him, take the 15-yard tripping penalty. Don't allow him to walk, right up to your quarterback. Because what people don't understand is defensive linemen are taught to chop just the way that Hassan Reddick did. And it's not to hurt or injure the quarterback. It's just to stop their throwing motion. So the way he chopped him, he just chopped him right, pretty much like right here. And his arm just bent back the wrong way. And, I mean, he's a damn linebacker. What do you think? Those motherfuckers have a lot of power. So, for me, this is just frustration. And I'm tired of being frustrated. So, next year when football rolls around and everyone says, what's the goal? Well, the goal is to get to a Super Bowl and win it. Will we reach that goal? Fuck, I don't know. And I know that kind of seems, very unfaithful-like, but I'm not about to put a lot of stock in what we put on the field. We need to find a defensive coordinator. We wanted Vic Fangio, but he went to Miami, even though he said he hadn't decided. Now he's in Miami. I believe we interviewed Steve Wilks, former interim head coach for the Carolina Panthers and former head coach of the Arizona Cardinals, who did him horridly greasy. But these are people that we're looking to. And the one thing about Steve Wilks is great with DBs. See, I think part of what happened as well is Kyle didn't want to change from a 4-3 to a 3-4. And they like what they have in this 3-4. They love the zone. They love all that stuff. I hate the zone defense. Honestly, I do. Because I feel like you're always playing 5, 10, 12 yards off the fucking receiver. It's real easy to get catches. And you get the wrong person that's very dynamic, like a Deebo Samuel. That motherfucker's going to rip off his consistent amount of yardage. Why? Because you give him all the cushion in the world. I don't really need to throw a bubble screen when I have somebody playing 15 yards off the fucking receiver. And when we're in the red zone, why are we playing off the receiver? You mean tell me you can't keep up with a dude that fast? No jamming at the line, no none of that. And that's the reason why I don't like zone defense, because you're not in the defender's face. You're not making them work for the yardage and or for that catch. It's very, very hard to be able to get up on a guy, force him to move, and make sure that he can't be at his spot at the right time when you're playing 10 yards off. It's easy for me to catch a little quick slant. If you're playing 10 yards off of me and I run a slant, that means I'm running probably about maybe 5 yards and cutting. And by the time I make my cut, you have to close. So is your closing speed as fast as the release of my quarterback? Is your closing speed as fast as the break that I go into before I actually make that cut to go and run that slant properly? If it isn't, I'm going to kill you every time. Now, I'll keep running it. I can give a fuck. I'm going to walk down the field. I know I'm going to get at least 10 yards out of that. That's all I need for a first down from a technical standpoint. So the defense is in place. We're losing a couple of guys. We're going to have to replenish our offense. I believe we have somewhere between like 11 to 14 picks, something like that. I don't know exactly. Haven't looked at the numbers, but I'll talk about that once the draft rolls around. and pretty much after the Super Bowl. I won't be watching the Super Bowl because I could give two fucks about Philly and Cincinnati battling it out. Um, I don't really listen to Rihanna like that. No offense to her or her fans or anything, but I don't really listen to Rihanna like that. So I ain't about to watch the halftime show. And we all know the only reason Rihanna's performing at halftime is because Jay-Z is the one controlling shit. She signed to Rock Nation, so why wouldn't he put her out there? So that makes it happen. Yes, that's what I was saying, John. He's a specialty guy with DBs. And if we bring Wilkes in, I guarantee you those guys will be playing a hell of a lot better. And I don't mind Steve Wilkes being the defensive coordinator. That's okay with me. I'm good. Like I said, he got fucked in Arizona. They did him real greasy. They gave him Josh Rosen, no team, and 1 year when he went 2-14, they kicked him to the curb and hired Cliff Kingsbury. Now, to me, what does that say? That spells racism. And if you don't like the fact that I said that, you can kiss my black ass. That's racism at its finest. How the fuck you get a black dude 1 year, but give this motherfucker who never had a winning program in college, several years, and you give him a new draft pick? Don't make sense to me. And it's not the fact that he just so happens to be white. It is what the fuck it is. Sorry. You know what I'm saying? So, the Texans trying to cover up their black eye once again. Why? Remember, the owner. We can't have the inmates running the asylum. That motherfucker. Sound a little racist to you? Yes, very much so. And see, this is why I talk stuff on my channel, because other people won't say shit like that. They're not going to tell you how they really feel. They're going to keep it PC. They're going to make sure that they keep the viewers in and do all of those things. And that's fine. I'm not that dude. This is the reason why I mesh with the guys from Real Talk Niner Talk so well, because I keep it a buck and I say what the fuck I feel, and I don't pull punches. I don't hold nothing back. So for me, it's just a situation of the Texans hired Lovie Smith. Why? Because they said some stupid shit. Now they want to go, look, we hired a black head coach. Everything's okay. But you fired him after 1 year. You gave him Davis Mills and pretty much nothing around Davis Mills. I think they had Brandon Cooks was their most noteworthy receiver, and that motherfucker just runs go routes. He don't run the full route tree. We all know that. So you look at it, and they basically put him in a bad position, fired him. So now what do? You go in and you say, hey, I need a new head coach, somebody who could turn this team around. And you go and you hire DeMeco Ryans. Now, I hope that DeMeco does fantastic in Houston. I hope he is able to turn that team around. But I also hope they actually give him the fucking time to do it. And they allow him the personnel to do it. You got to be willing to spend the money to get people in there. And DeMeco was drafted by Houston. He played in Houston for years. I believe when he retired, he probably told Houston, that's where I'm retiring, all of that. But you got Andre Johnson showed up for his press conference, J.J. Watt, some of the Houston greats, some of the guys that made their name and made their bones in Houston, even though he had a consistent quarterback carousel, D-Hop probably should have been there, because where was he at? He was in Houston. And what was he doing? Playing with every quarterback known to man, but he's still putting up 1,000-yard seasons. What's going on, CarCast? So for me, I'm frustrated and annoyed at the fact that we just can't fucking finish. And I'm tired of watching us fail year in and year out. So I'm just tempering my expectations. That's all. I'm not saying we're never going to win a Super Bowl, but it just doesn't look like we're going to win one anytime soon. Throwback did ask me, do I feel like the Super Bowl window is closing? Super Bowl windows are never open or closed. It's all based on whether you make it or you don't. And that's just me keeping it a buck. Are you able to figure out how those things work and they don't work? Are you able to have the game plan to beat the team that's in front of you? So I'm not saying that it's a situation of our Super Bowl window closing. Is just things don't look as strong as they used to. They look very bleak, and I'm tired. I'm tired of watching us year in and year out, get our hopes up, and next thing you know, you just wind up failing. I'm not even gonna bullshit you, man. In baseball, I like the Dodgers and I love the Braves. But the reason that I started liking the Braves is because I consistently saw the Dodgers breaking my heart every fucking year. They kept losing. So I never wanted to give up on my team and say that I couldn't, follow them because they weren't great. But I just wanted to be a part of a team that actually won something, and it takes forever, man. It takes a while. But one thing I can say is we can't talk shit to Cowboy fans. We ain't won just as long as they ain't won. We can't talk shit to no other franchise. Last 2 Super Bowls we done been in, we lost. Questionable call versus Baltimore, but it is what it is. Still a L. Jimmy can't make the throw to Emmanuel Sanders. It's an L. We can blame any and everything on refs or other things, but at the end of the day, you have to get the job done, and you have to make sure that you do not allow the refs to control the game, period. So the defense, for the most part, is intact. Probably got to find some more interior defensive linemen. Sorry. If you ever see this, Javon, sorry. I just don't believe in you. You haven't shown me anything on the field that says that I should believe in you. And once you do, then maybe I can change my mind. But as of right now, I do not believe in Javon Kinlaw. I believe he should be cut and let him move on to greener pastures. If some other team wants to take a chance on him and he thrives elsewhere, that's fine. So be it. But I honestly just don't think he's going to do anything. And the other thing is I can tell you this. There's so many people. Yo, what's going on, CJ? Oh, he said no more Madden for me. Yeah. So here's the thing. Still got Eric Armstead. Still got you still have Nick Bosa. You still got Drake Jackson. Like, we have people that we can put in place. But the one thing that we have as far as our D-line is concerned, that is our ultimate weapon, is Chris Kaczmarek. Because, he seems to make everything work. Hopefully in the offseason, Drake Jackson works on his endurance and his stamina to be able to make it happen. That's basically what it was. Oh, you went to the game, CJ? You should have met up with I think Breezy and Mose were there too. So it's a frustrating situation. Truthfully, it is. What's going on, Bashar? It's a very frustrating situation when you look at it because, like I said, the defense did their job in that game. The hard part is you can only hold up for so long, and he just has to get it right. My mom says your coach needs to listen to the podcasters and make some changes. And your grandmother said in every game you're playing against 2 teams, the refs and the other team. And those are facts, people. And that was my mom's. My mom's is the one who taught me football. She's the reason that I know about sports in general. She taught me how to throw a football. She taught me how to throw a baseball. You know what I'm saying? So those are just some of the things that he has to change up. And he's got to get better. We love Kyle. We appreciate him for everything that he's done. We thank him for making us competitive. But guys like me don't care about being competitive. We care about winning the Super Bowl. See, I'm one of those people where if you tell me, hey, if we do X, Y, and Z, we're going to win this game, I'm trying to execute X, Y, and Z to the umpteenth power. But if you tell me we're going to do X, Y, and Z, but then we go into the game and you start doing A, B, and C, what the fuck happened to X, Y, and Z? Why are we diverting from the plan that was put in place? And it to me, it's just really hard. What's up, Crazy Juice? But to me, it's just very hard, man. And I'm frustrated, and I'm tired of putting as much effort and stock and time into the team and getting nothing in return. NFC Championship games are nice. Being competitive is nice, but at the end of the day, I don't care what anybody says. I've said it before, I'll say it again. Your ultimate goal is to put a Lombardi trophy in your case that says that you won a Super Bowl that year and every year. There is nothing different about that. I know for me, I would love to have that. I would love to have a 6 Lombardi because for me, basically through StreamYard, shout out to them, through YouTube, shout out to YouTube, I've met so many amazing and wonderful and fantastic 49er fans. And I love all you guys. Guys and girls, everybody comes in and they watch us, they listen to us, whether it be me, whether it be Real Talk Niner Talk, whether it be Breezy, whether it be the SF Niners, whether it be Raj on Instagram, whether it be 49er Media, whether it be Forever Faithful. Shout out to my guys at the Hot. All these fans come in and listen to us and listen to our opinions, give their time, give their money. They do all of these things, man. And in return, all we ask Kyle for simply is just a fucking Lombardi. And we can't get it. He's been here 6 years. We cannot get it. And like I said before, I liken him to Mark Jackson now. He's got all the pieces of the puzzle. He just don't know what to do to get over the hump. So will he ever get over the hump? Beats me. I have no fucking clue. My buddy called me the other day and said that, there's some guy out there that's been picking every Super Bowl winning team, for the last couple of years, and he's been right and all this other shit. And he's betting on the Eagles to win. So I don't know. You know what I'm saying? And he said that the guy has it predicted for the next couple of years, and the next couple of years don't have the 49ers winning the Super Bowl. But that's all hype and superstition. You never know what's going to happen. Nobody can perfectly predict it. If you do, you're just lucky. It's a good guess. But it's a simple situation of understanding that this is what we shouldn't have endured versus the Eagles. We should have had a fair game where we both had our quarterbacks and we just fought it out. And I honestly think that we would have had a better shot at winning that game if Brock Purdy not gotten hurt. I didn't have faith when Josh Johnson walked into the game. A lot of people did. I did not. I had no faith. I was like, we got Joe. Game's over. And sometimes I go to the bar. I'll go to Varsity Tavern right off Mill Ave because that's where we go for, the 49er faithful here in Arizona. And the crazy shit is, right at the end of the game, I just was like, no, man, fuck it. I'm done. I ain't about to watch the rest of this shit. I'm going home. Jose, what's going on, man? First time seeing you in the stream. Well, looks like he's trolling. But it is what it is. All good. If you're an Eagles fan, you have all the right to gloat. You won. You beat us down. Congratulations. Even though we had no quarterback, still not an excuse. You got to find a way to win the game no matter what comes your way, unfortunately. So I need to, for me, I heard what Kyle said in the presser. He's comfortable going into next season with Brock Purdy and with Jimmy Garoppolo. Tom Brady is retired. A lot of people feel like they're kind of on the Favre watch, so to speak. Fuck Brett Favre. He's a piece of shit. Just wanted to throw that in there. And his white privilege is shown because look at all the bullshit he did and everything that he pulled off. But magically, he's not in jail. What a coincidence. But at the end of the day, for me, it gets more and more frustrating when all we want as fans is just to see our team thrive and win and be better at having the Super Bowl. You know what I mean? And if y'all hear a trash truck, yes, it's outside, so it might be a little loud. Let me close this window real quick. There we go. Now, if you hear it, it won't be too bad. The balcony door's open, but it is what it is. So, looking back at everything in hindsight, it was a great run. We were all on that ridiculous high of Brock Purdy and what he was doing. It's just we were all there. We were all there. Going into this Eagles game, we knew we had a tough task, but the first thing for us was we're not afraid of it. We're going to make this happen. We're going to do it. We got this. We know the Eagles are a formidable team. We're going to make sure that we have a situation where they aren't able to beat us. And if they do score, we can score. Like we had everything in place. And those unfortunate injuries happened to both quarterbacks. The only thing I can say is Kyle probably could have went to the Wildcat a little bit earlier. Once he realized Brock just couldn't throw, what's the significance of putting him in to just hand the ball off? Why? The other team already knows what's going on. It's obvious. See, what people don't realize is these teams have people that are literally telling them information as the game goes on. I'm just telling you straight up, it's a situation where, like, when Brock Purdy went out and nobody knew what was going on, there are people literally from the team that sit at home and watch the games and listen to the broadcast and go, hey, man, they say he got an injury. He ain't even coming back in. Now he could do this. And that gets back to the team, and they say, oh, all right, cool. We're going to do X, Y, and Z. All right, boom. Next thing you know, Josh Johnson winds up with a concussion. You don't need nobody watching TV to tell you that. The motherfucker went into the blue tent and wound up having a concussion and never came back. So if you know that Brock Purdy is technically injured and should have been ruled out for this game, but he's back in this game, you know he can't throw the ball because it was his right arm that he throws with that got hurt. So the next thing you know, what do? You say to yourself, oh, man, this is easy. I don't have to worry about shit. I'm just going to go ahead and say, hey, we'll rush the passer the same way we've been rushing the passer. You know what I'm saying? Jose, it is a really, really hard thing to keep all of those people together. So his question was, how long can you keep the squad together? Ayuk, Debo, Kittle, CMC, Greenlaw, Bosa, Trent Williams. Here's the thing. It's not, it's not about – all those guys are here. Salary cap is going up to, I believe, about $224 million this year. So we'll have a lot more wiggle room. To me, it just says – excuse me. It just basically says that they were a little more prepared than we were. We barely got home on Jalen Hurts in the playoffs. We had barely been getting home just in general. It's like we would collapse the pocket, but it never forced the quarterback to make the dumb decisions that we needed them to make with that pressure being there. So pressure busts pipes. It does. But in this game, it didn't burst shit. The pressure just continuously flowed. It was there. But at the end of the day, they found a way to, snake it out and call it a day. If you don't know what a snake is, you may have never been plumbing, Andy would, because his things literally flow right. So he understands what I mean. Take a snake, clean that bitch out, and call it a day. But it's really a situation of us having everything that we need. And honestly, I just don't know if Kyle is the guy. Once again, I would still say I'm not saying to fire him. I just don't know if he's that dude to get us over the hump. I'm sorry. 6 years, and we've got nothing to show for it. Once again, being competitive is nice. It's great. But you know who should be satisfied with being competitive? The mediocre teams at the bottom of the league. The Texans should be satisfied with being competitive. Damn near the whole NFC South should be satisfied with just being competitive. There are teams that are satisfied with being competitive. Shout out to my boy Tony from Locker Room Red. Shout out to Nick and John as well. But Tony said something that resonated with me. He said, as 49er fans, you guys are used to greatness. You're used to winning. You're used to all these things happening, falling into place. And then when it doesn't happen, that's what gets frustrating. That's where you guys are like, what the fuck? So definitely understand, how it is. And yes, CJ, you make a great, this is even perfect. This is probably one of the best points that I've seen. Bosa, 18.5 sacks. The next guy has 5. So that tells you that most of our sacks are coming from one person. That means Bosa literally tripled the next guy's sack production by 3 on his own, by himself. So it tells you we probably need a few more pieces to the puzzle. The Eagles pass rush is tremendous. They get home very quickly. So I think somebody said a little bit earlier, they were upset with Kyle because of how he was game planning. And that he had a long drawn a play that takes time to develop versus a pass rush like this. As far as the Eagles are concerned, and it's definitely not the greatest thing. I don't know. Jose is saying if Shanahan went out, went to the locker room at halftime down 7 points. We could have won the game. I don't really know. You can't win a game without a quarterback. That was what happened. Basically, we didn't have a quarterback. The motherfucker just was non-existent, and it just kind of happened. So, I honestly, yes, and I think Drake Jackson will help. I think he just has to build his body to be a 3-down defensive end. And I guess for them, what they're saying is he would get fatigued too much, and they didn't see effort. But y'all sat here and watched Javon Kinlaw fuck up for I don't know how many years, or be injured, or not even be able to play. But he can get a starting spot back because he was a first rounder. Sorry, Drake Jackson had way more of an impact than Javon Kinlaw has had his whole time being here. Just think about it. In the short span of time that Drake Jackson has been here, he's done more for us than Javon Kinlaw. And that's sad because Kinlaw was the first round pick, slated to be the replacement for DeForest Buckner, because instead of us paying Defoe, we went ahead and paid Eric. And we drafted a guy, which to me made absolutely no sense. So this basically was a cost-effective move. It's not saying that DeForest Buckner was at the end of the rope or he was playing horribly or anything like that, because he was playing fantastic. But now you get a guy that comes in, and this dude, you already know he had knee problems, all those things. So it happens. But I don't know much about Kalia Davis, Raphael, and I really hate when we waste draft picks on project dudes or guys that we're going to eventually allow to be on the field, or we're trying to develop them in the back. We don't need development players. We need players who can get on the field and fucking produce. And that's nothing against you. I'm not directing that at you. I'm just saying, that's what we need. I'm not one of those people who is of the mindset that we can't do anything, when it comes down to football. We can do everything. We have all the pieces of the puzzle. There's no reason we should have lost. There's no reason that we should not be resting this week and heading toward the Super Bowl. There just isn't. We had everything that we needed. The only issue is we just didn't have a quarterback in the most important game of the season for us to be able to get to the Super Bowl. So you can't win like that. And that kind of is what it is. Once again, I'm not blaming Kyle for that. I can't. You can't blame him for those types of injuries. Josh Johnson getting a concussion, Kyle can't go in there and block for him and stop that. You know what I'm saying? Brock Purdy getting his UCL ripped to shreds by a tomahawk chop from Hassan Reddick. Kyle can't stop that. Tyler Cross defense, he's actually not a bad blocker. He's all right. It's just Hassan Reddick got by him. Everybody gets beat. I'm not giving that as an excuse for Tyler Croft, but it happens, bro. It happens. And it just gets frustrating. John V says Purdy most certainly should have won that game to get there. I'm just pissed we threw the damn ball rather than run it. Yeah, and that's the thing. That's our strength. Our strength is running the ball. So why wouldn't you just start to try to wear that defense down? By running the ball. There's a lot of things that happen. Carcast says we need to stop adding depth and adding more important starters to our D-line. Look at the Eagles roster categorized by position. That is facts. Yeah, because the issue is, so I have this saying that Kyle's always helping out the homie. And the number one issue with that is when you help out the homie, they don't always help you out. Everybody has certain friends in their lives that they've come across that they may no longer be friends with or still friends with that are just fucking leeches. They mooch. They're always there when you need something. Hell, when I was young, about 14 or 15, we knew the people not to smoke weed around. You know why? Because there'd always be that random person that would show the fuck up right when you were about to spark up because they want to get a free hit. And they didn't put in on this man. So that's what happens with Kyle. He always goes out and looks for the homie because he's like, well, this person's familiar with my system. I know them, so I feel more comfortable. Yeah, that's not always the right thing. That's like taking somebody who's never robbed any bank in their life to a bank robbery for the first time. never giving them a blueprint, never teaching them what to do, never showing them how to rob a bank, never showing them don't take off your mask, don't do anything that makes you distinctive from the others. All these things don't come into play. You just say, hey, man, we're finna go rob a bank. You're in the car, so put this mask on, let's get it. And the person's like, huh? Then you hand them a fucking Tech 9 or you hand them a 9mm or, an AK-47, whatever the fuck you hand them. And then they walk in and they're like, I don't know what I'm doing here. And yeah, it may be a bad analogy, but it is what it is. But it's very simple. We got frustrated, as fans because we're tired of watching the breakdowns and watching the implosion of the team, and that hurts. It really, really does hurt, and that's a fact. CJ says that we have to stop playing players because of where they were drafted, just play the best. And that's the truth of it, man. If there's somebody if Kevin Givens is truly better than Javon Kinlaw, then Javon Kinlaw needs to be on the bench. Nothing wrong with that. I'm not saying that, I'm just saying I've always been the type of person, you got to give me 2 years of consistent production before you were ever to walk into my office and ask me for money. If I'm a GM of a team, you give me 1 year of production, I don't know, that could have been a fluke. You could have just had a good year. I don't know how you're going to look better than the next year. Now, if you give me 2 years of consistent production, then that tells me, yeah, I should open my pocketbook. You know why? Because he's done it for 2 years. I should expect him to at least keep up the production or not dip off so far that I'm making, a bad decision by paying this person. And in this instance, we didn't have that option. You know what I'm saying? So I'm hurting and I'm sad and I'm kind of in disbelief all at the same time, because I really was banking on us taking Philly out and being able to deliver a championship to this young 49er faithful generation. I've seen 4 out of our 5 championships. I was old enough to. I was literally a baby, and I was born, right after we won our first championship in 81. So you have to figure out how to spend the money right. And CarCast is correct. Add impact and start by adding important starters. You know what I'm saying? Like, add guys that are going to make a difference. Don't just keep picking up motherfuckers that, you think Chris Cassera can turn into a star. Because the issue is we got all that production out of Bosa, but 5 sacks here, 5 sacks there. Like, none of this works out. And yes, the Eagles they got up to 70 sacks as a team in total, and they got those in bunches. You could see the players' frustrations. Trent Williams, he slammed, I don't know who, but I mean, anybody stupid enough to go up against Silverback is just a dumbass. Why would you even fathom that much? I know I'm making a business decision to stay away from that big motherfucker. He is way too huge. But it's just, for me, there's nothing left. The season's over for us. I don't care to watch all the Pro Bowl shit. I think the Pro Bowl is a flag football game now or something like that. It's been a flag football game for years. No one ever took the Pro Bowl seriously. It's been very rare that they actually give effort. They don't even hit guys. They don't do nothing. All those guys are there for is they know at the end of the day, I get a paycheck for either winning or losing. This is free money I can use to invest it in something, or hell, I can fuck it off on something that my wife's been asking me for that's crazy expensive, but I'm a frugal motherfucker. And I just got this free money here. Take it, babe. Go get whatever you wanted. So those are things that come into play. And I've been very frustrated with the way that the season ended, with us not having a quarterback to be able to win the game. I'm frustrated at the fact that, we just keep coming close, but we keep coming up short. And I'm tired of having the expectation of being a Super Bowl contender, and it never coming to fruition. We've been in a Super Bowl one time with Kyle, and he just barely got over 500. The one thing I can say is his press conference did make me happy when I saw that, he openly stated, finally, it took him forever. He stated, they asked, hey, do you see any situation where Jimmy Garoppolo comes back? And he said, I don't see any situation where that happens, period. Like, that's it. Jimmy's gone. Let him go wherever he's going to go. Plus, at the same time, for anybody out there that likes Jimmy, you can go with him wherever the fuck he goes. No one cares. I always will maintain the fact, and then shout out to my boy Splash Cousin, Jordan Elliott. He helped me in understanding, a better way of approaching it. Jimmy just never could finish. He never did enough. He would always do something, but he just could never do enough. And that's the problem. When it came to the playoffs, the man disappeared. It's sad that a third-string rookie, Mr. Irrelevant, came in and equaled your touchdown total in one game. That's pathetic. That's actually really bad. And you don't believe me? These are facts. You can take it out there, man. I get frustrated because all I want is us to just win and be able to give this new generation the Super Bowl and provide them some better hope for things to come. It'd be nice even if we won one and lost one and then won one again. I'm not opposed to that. But at a bare minimum, just get the job done. And we haven't been able to do such. And it sucks. It really does. I would have loved to have been able to just get that Lombardi, place it in the trophy, and celebrate with these young fans. Because like I said, man, through social media, I met so many amazing people, so many amazing fans. The ladies and gents that watch this show, all of those things that come into play. But I just haven't been the type of person where I just haven't, that thirst hasn't been satisfied, And I'll liken it to this. I'm in a desert, and there's a mirage of Kyle Shanahan and Brock Purdy and Deebo Samuel and Christian McCaffrey and Trent Williams and all our guys standing up on a podium, hoisting the Lombardi trophy. And as I come closer and closer, it looks even better and better. And then when I get there, I realize it was just a mirage. Shout out to Ghetto Boys. My mind was playing tricks on me. So do I feel like we could have done better? Yeah, but when you don't have a quarterback, man, I can't blame nobody for that loss. I can say that Kyle should have been better prepared with a better backup, but you can't tell when somebody's going to get a concussion. You can't tell when somebody's going to get tomahawk chopped and have their UCL ripped to shreds. But these are things that happen. So, R.I.P. Bushwick Bill. Yes, sir. So I am happy, at least, like I said, at that. Jimmy is gone. He's not coming back. Thank God. Let him go wherever the fuck he wants to go and get paid. I truthfully don't care. Somebody's going to pay him an exorbitant amount of money strictly based on the fact that he has a winning record. There's nothing anyone can say. That's literally it. Hey, you got a winning record? Cool. We like you. Come over here and help us lead this team. And they'll fast realize that if you don't have everything in perfect place for Jimmy, he's going to live over the middle, and it's going to be easy to stop him. He doesn't throw deep, doesn't throw outside the numbers. Those are just limitations that he has, and we all understand them. We dealt with it for years. We had to understand it. So for me, it's a little so-so. So I just really wish that we didn't do this and we didn't get, our fans' hopes up and watch them come crashing down. Chalk this game up to the fact that we just didn't have a quarterback. And when you don't have one, you see exactly what happens. These are results you get. So, for the Eagles, shout out to them. Congratulations for moving on and moving forward. But for 49er fans, we got to wait. Trey Lance is on the mend. He'll be ready for OTAs. So, it's a positive and a negative. It's negative because we didn't want Brock Purdy to get hurt. No one wishes injury on anyone. But the positive is Trey Lance gets another shot. Because no matter what Brock Purdy does, it's going to give him the opportunity to be able to get a chance of starting again. Because he won't be here for OTAs. He won't be here in the offseason. And I guarantee you that, with Brock not really being able to throw, that Trey's going to do the exact same thing. I'm calling up the guys. Let's get together. Let's work out. Let's build some chemistry. Let's do some things, and those guys will show up. They always will. And nobody is mad or upset or anything. It happens. But Trey is one of those guys who wants to rally the troops and all that. So on a side note, since Brady has retired, we don't have to worry about everybody talking, oh, you should go to San Francisco. I don't want Tom Brady on the back end of his career when he looks like he doesn't even want to be touched if he's going to get sacked. Fuck that. I know it seems like the ties are severed between Aaron Rodgers and the Packers, but I don't want Aaron Rodgers on my team because I don't need you going out doing a bunch of hallucinogenic drugs instead of focusing on what's best for this team and figuring out a way for us to win. That's what I want. In the summertime, instead of you bitching and complaining about what didn't happen, you could have said, hey, guys, let's get together. I know I got a couple new receivers. We're starting this new regime. I need to start building rapport with you guys now. It's definitely is hard. And yes, they are sold on Brock Purdy because it's like Jake Brendel said. I felt like this was a slight at Trey, but when Trey gave everybody all the stuff for Christmas, Jake Brendel was like, hey, what's going on, Rob Art? He was like, oh, that's nice, but Brock Purdy's giving us wins. Okay. So is Brock Purdy giving you wins? Yes. Is your statement factual? Yes. Was there possibly a little bit more to that? By the way it was stated, yeah, you could think so. It does get frustrating. You know what I'm saying? You have somebody who's there supposed to be leading the team, but they're injured. But what he does is he still comes and he still endears himself to the team. If you notice, Trey Lance doesn't leave. If he's rehab, he ain't never left. He never went nowhere. That man was right on the sidelines, when we were playing in that AMC championship game. And I'm 100% sure if they let Trey ass suit up, he probably would have went out there with a broken ankle and did everything he could to help us win. That's just the type of warrior he is. We did see Jimmy's punk ass on the sidelines laughing, which is what he always fucking does. And though it's annoying, it's fine. He's gone. He'll annoy the shit out of another fan base with the fucked up shit that he does and the stupid things that he says and the way that he acts. But this game hurt because our defense did everything that they could. We just didn't have an offense to give them anything in return. So I really feel bad for those guys going out there, busting their ass, giving their all. Trent Williams kind of hinted at possibly retiring because he's saying, every year you do the same thing and it gets old. It does get old. But, hell, with the way that his contract is about to balloon, yeah, that money going up. So he ain't going nowhere. I don't think Trent Williams will retire. He may finish out his contract and then retire. But even if he does, he still could retire. He's probably at least a top 5 left tackle ever to play the game. I know he's definitely up there with us in 49er land. I know we had Joe Staley and a couple of other guys, but, Trent's a formidable talent, and he does a great job. So for me, sucks that the season is over. It sucks that we're not going to the Super Bowl, and it hurts a lot. Once again, I'm not saying fire Kyle, but make some adjustments, man. Do something different. Switch it up, change it up, and be prepared. Don't go into the NFC Championship game and not have a backup quarterback, a true backup quarterback. Not somebody you picked up because he was your friend and you knew him from wherever you were when you met him. You know what I'm saying? Like, if that's the case, then I should just be helping out random motherfuckers all the time. There's a bunch of people that I'm friends with. I can tell you right now, there's a bunch of people that I'm friends with on Facebook from high school that I'm never really associated with. I know them, I know of them, but I don't know much of anything about them. I never hung with, a good majority of those people. I would see them, I was polite, they were polite, but just don't really know them like that. And it frustrates me to no end that we can't get over that hump and that Kyle is Mark Jackson and this is the situation. So next year, when we start the season, if someone says, well, hey, what are your expectations? Playoffs. You're not anticipating a Lombardi? No, just playoffs. If we win in the playoffs, we win. If we don't, we don't. It's an easy way for me to not get my hopes up and then wind up just everything crashing down. And me being stressed like, damn, man, we just can't get shit. That's just basically it. And yeah, that's what I was saying about Kyle always helping out the homie because he supposedly knows the system. But bro, Josh ain't worked out nowhere. What makes you think he finna work out here? Kyle is not a quarterback whisperer by any stretch of the imagination. We all know that. Yes, did Matt Ryan, improve under him? He did, but if you look at it honestly, even that in 2017, that year that Kyle left, Matt Ryan had better stats than he ever had while Kyle was the offensive coordinator. And I'm just keeping it a buck. So it's definitely a hard sell, man, for us as Niner fans to continually have to watch, us get to the mountaintop, but just come up short. And yes, Brian Griese has seemed to have been a quarterback whisperer because he had Jimmy throwing touchdowns and not interceptions and not doing stupid shit. When Jimmy got injured, that was a freak accident. Somebody, tackling you. You don't know how you're gonna land or what's gonna move and not move. I can't blame that on him. I can't blame it on Kyle or anyone. It's just he probably should have just thrown the ball away instead of continually trying to make a play. But I'm tempering my expectations. I expect us at a minimum next year to be in the playoffs. If we can make sure that we fill the holes that we need to fill in the offseason, whether it be free agency or whether it be in the draft. We got to get ourselves a defensive coordinator. And once we get that, we should be perfectly fine. We'll go back to the drawing board, figure out what we're going to do, take a look at, the defense is going to be installed. Hopefully, put in some new and different things. Play a little bit more man coverage when it comes to the DBs. And just do things a little bit differently and make things happen. Kyle did a lot with the third stringer. And, we wound up going down to our fourth stringer. It's just a really big, bad season. I know Mike McGlinchey's a free agent. I'm pretty sure they'll allow him to test the market and see what the market says. The market says something more than what they were intending to offer. They'll probably just draft somebody to replace him at right tackle, or they'll groom somebody that's probably already in the building to take his spot. Because Mike McGlinchey is a great run blocker. He's very consistent with that, but he is an inconsistent pass blocker, meaning there are times where he can hold his block and times where he just gets beat. You know what I'm saying? And the fact that he's improved on his pass blocking, it still is not enough. He's not where we want him to be. So it's definitely funny, man. And yeah, I mean, with Kyle, he latches on the players. He likes certain dudes. Certain guys give him the option. McKivitz has played all over. He played all over the line while he was in West Virginia. He mainly played guard and left tackle, if I'm not mistaken. But I'm pretty sure you could teach him right tackle, and he could go ahead and do it. And McKivitz is definitely a guy that they probably will keep around just because they know they want to do that. So I'll put the link in the chat if anybody wants to come through and say something real quick. I'll give y'all a few minutes to speak, and we can go from there. But I'm probably going to shut it down if nobody wants to come on for a second and say something. I've been here just kind of venting and letting out my frustrations and what goes, what's going on with everything that's happening. So, while I love and appreciate our team for the season and everything that they've done, it's just a little frustrating for me to have to deal with that. So, link is in the chat if you want to come through and say a couple of words, hang out with your boy, then by all means, go right ahead. I'm not, telling anybody that they can't. I put that there. If you want to, you can. If not, if I don't get anybody in here within the next couple of minutes, I'm just going to shut it down. But I'll definitely be back with more videos for us to, look at the free agency, look at the offseason, see what's going on, talk about our own free agents and all of the things that are happening. With the 49ers, because we have more than enough people, that report on the Niners that give us good insights. And we have other people that do or don't necessarily care too much, when it comes to what we're doing, because they're either division rivals or they just giving up. And we aren't called the faithful for no reason. So in no way during this video do I want anybody to think that I was saying that we shouldn't be faithful. We should be. We still should remain it. But to have questions is not a negative thing. I don't know if those questions are ever going to get answered. I would love them to be answered. But in this instance, it is what it is. We just wound up being stuck like Chuck, at a place where we just couldn't get over the hump. Can't blame Kyle for this L. Only thing I can say is he probably should have been a little bit more prepared by dressing an extra QB and taking away an extra running back. But it kind of is what it is. Season is over. Be back with another video. Going to get into free agency. We're going to take a look at the guys that are out there, and we'll take a look at our salary cap and see exactly what we need to do and what we're doing. I think we're still paying D Ford and Weston Richburg. I guess we're trying to finish out getting their money off the books. And once we do that, I think we're actually clear of owing players that are not playing for us and or producing for us in any way any more money. And that to me is great because I don't like paying people who aren't playing. We paid D Ford and Jerick McKinnon absorbent amounts of money, and both those motherfuckers never gave us nothing in return. D Ford gave us probably about maybe 12 games out of the whole time he's been here. And it's just with him, he was just injury prone, and we knew that when we took him from the Chiefs. We knew that. You gave that guy all that money, he can't stay on the field. On my back, my neck and my back. D Ford basically Ezel on the field. If y'all don't know what I'm talking about, that's Friday. But it's real frustrating, breaks my heart. And I hope that, things continue to get better. And also, if there's ever a situation like that ever happens again, hopefully this is a lesson learned for Kyle. Hey, in these big games, in these types of games, I need a third quarterback. And it's just him understanding how to be prepared, man. Don't allow yourself to get kicked in the ass when you're not paying enough attention. You know what I mean? Don't go in there and not having that option. Oh, damn, I'm sorry that you got bronchitis, Brian. Hope you feel better, man. So, honestly, man, thank y'all for coming and hanging out with your boy, listening to me vent. We still have good pieces to the puzzle for next year. We'll always find a way to replace the guys that do walk away. I believe we have a situation where we can do that, where we can go into this offseason and hopefully come out of the offseason positive. We can look at the draft and say we made the right decisions. We can look into free agency and say, hey, we paid the right guys. The number one thing is just open that pocketbook, Jed and Parag. Don't be frugal. Because at the end of the day, you got to pay somebody. Whether it be Nick Bosa, whatever the case may be. Give me just a sec, guys. All right. Sorry about that. I was a little parched. Needed a little sip of water. But thank y'all for hanging out with me. Appreciate everybody coming through and chilling with your boy. Niners content creators will still be out there putting things out. Shout out to Breezy. He's out there covering the Senior Bowl for Alabama. Hope he makes it home safe. One thing people don't realize about the South is there's still specific spots that you do not go as a Black person. Doesn't make a difference. These places certain places in the South just have never changed. They will be the way they are, and they don't care if you like it or not. You came into their town, they'll act the way they act. But thank everybody for tuning in. I'm going to go ahead and shut it down. I will be back with more videos. We'll talk about free agency. We'll talk about the off season. We'll take a look at the guys that we have leaving and see if there's anybody that we need to retain. Obviously, Aziz and E-Man Mosley are definitely guys that we would love to get back and keep with us. I do believe that Mosley should be ready to go probably at least by training camp. I don't think he's going to be ready for OTAs, but at least by training camp, he should be ready to go. And I'm pretty sure we can bring him back. The reason being is strictly based on the fact that he's going to be cheap because he got injured. So it kind of works in the 49ers' favors to an extent. Yeah, no, that's very true, Brian. I mean, hell, that goes for, any and everybody. But Tommy said the NFL is rigged. There's a lot of people that do believe that, man. Hell, there was a video, I think, of some guy where he, kind of had the ball stuck to his glove, and it's supposed to be these magnetic gloves and all kinds of shit. And I'm like, yeah, that doesn't actually work. And it doesn't happen in the game. The reason being is because if everything was magnetic, no receiver would ever drop a pass. It's too easy. If I touch the ball and that magnet's strong enough and the magnet in my glove is strong enough, they're going to come together and they're not being separated. It's going to take a ridiculous amount of force to let that go. So we wouldn't see drop passes if those things were happening. But it is what it is. Thank y'all for chilling with your boy. I'll be back with another video here probably within the next couple of days. And we'll go from there. Take a look at the offseason, see what's ahead, and continue to hope for the best. Peace.